All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Thursday, October 2nd, here on your daily fix of all things Texas Longhorns. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson. And this is All In Horns, presented to you by Rogue Sports Network. And today, some big news on the basketball front. The first big commit of the Sean Miller era has committed to the University of Texas, and that is Bo Odgen. He announced it earlier this afternoon, or yesterday afternoon, the time of this recording this afternoon. Four-star basketball prospect, son of Chris Odgen, who is the former Texas assistant coach under Rick Barnes, which is why Tennessee was in the running. I thought Tennessee had a really good chance of bringing this commit in, but he's the 34 overall recruit, according to Rivals, number 4 in Texas, out of Westlake, 6'5", 180-pound point guard. And he's shooting threes at a 46% rate. Also had, along with Tennessee, Purdue, Kansas, Gonzaga. But Chris Odgen, not only was he the former Texas assistant coach under Rick Barnes, he is currently the GM for Texas basketball. So I thought Texas had the best chance, but again, he had a really good relationship with Rick Barnes. I actually read an article, Jake, earlier today that he considered Rick Barnes almost like a godfather to him. Like, he was very close with him whenever his dad was the assistant coach and he was a kid, kind of going to all the camps, and was very close with the Barnes family, and very close with the assistant coaching staff on them. So he's very familiar with Rick Barnes, been coached by Rick Barnes almost his entire childhood, it felt like. And so he did have a very good relationship with Tennessee. And so the fact that Sean Miller put the work in and was able to get this commit, big time get. First commit of the 2026 recruiting class, and it's the number 4 point guard in the state of Texas. Number 4 player.
And Texas fans will love to hear this. I know I did. One of the best 3-point shooting prospects in this entire class. He shoots about 46% from 3. That's with shooting about 7 threes a game. That is a very high percentage with a lot of threes shot. He's about an 87% free throw shooter. He's tall, he's lengthy, and he fits perfect into Sean Miller's system, which how good does that feel to say, by the way, that we know we have a particular offensive system, and it's easier to kind of get an idea of how these recruits fit whenever you know you have an identity. And that's why having an offensive-minded coach is so important, really in football and basketball. But with basketball, you don't have to worry about changes to assistant coach. Sean Miller has an offensive system, just like with Texas football. Sarkisian has an offensive system. We're going to know for as long as Sarkisian here, whether he's calling plays or not, how types of recruits fit into his system. It's going to be the same deal with Sean Miller, and this is a really good fit into Sean Miller's system. And when you have guys like, when you're getting him over guys like Tennessee, Kansas, Gonzaga, just to name a few, Purdue, which is a basketball powerhouse, you're doing something right. And so I'm very excited to see how he does. And I watched some of his tape. It was posted through a Huddle link on a Texas website. And I mean, he's a guy that might be able to contribute year one. I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there.
In basketball, especially with the amount of guard depth that Texas currently has and how, I guess, experienced the guard depth is at Texas on this year's team, on 2025 team. Senior Jordan Pope, fifth-year Tremont Marks, senior Kendall Weaver, junior Simeon Welcher. You've got some experienced guys who are going to be rotating at the guard position this year. And that's not including some of the other guys as well. But yeah, Jake, I think next year he's got a role on this team, whether it's coming off the bench or he's going to be the starting point guard for this team. Someone that he models his game after, Luka Doncic. He said it in a press conference. He said, I love Luka. This is a little bit painful for me. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate it. I know if he transfers, I'm going to
Could you just see my face?
Just... Yeah. I will unalive myself if he transfers after a sophomore year. Trust me, I know how that feels. But no, especially if he comes in wearing number 77 or something, I think he wears number 7 now. If I saw that correctly, I may be wrong about that, but no, he did say in that same interview where I was reading about his relationship with Rick Barnes, they asked him kind of who he idolizes, who he models his game after. He says, "I watch everything Luka Doncic, and that's who I want to kind of model my game after as I kind of mature into this game." And the fact that he thinks Sean Miller can get him to that point, also a testament to the coaching at Texas.
Yeah, buying into Sean Miller whenever he did have a strong connection with Rick Barnes, and everyone was recruiting him hard. This isn't just a NIL deal. I mean, Texas pumps the majority of their NIL into football. Not to say that the basketball players aren't getting paid well, but it's a different level than it is compared to football. But I do feel like there's some more buy-in from Texas, and hopefully we see that at the Moody Center. You know, the Moody Center was really rocking year 1. Even year 2. Last year, it was a library. And I think part of that was because they weren't an exciting brand of basketball to watch. And honestly, Rodney Terry did a terrible job of doing what Chris Beard did, which was going on campus, kind of campaigning to get students excited about basketball. And some people can sit there and go, you shouldn't have to do that. It's Texas. It's a football school. It's a football state. You got to get, it's not Wisconsin. It's not, you're not up north.
And guess what? Behind football, it's baseball. So basketball is probably 3rd on the list of,
especially at Texas, especially at the University of Texas. I mean, volleyball, it might be behind volleyball.
Yeah.
Honestly, the environments for the volleyball games are incredible. Maybe not viewership wise,
sure,
on television, but as far as on campus, I mean, the volleyball team has championships. They go deep consistently. That matters. University of Texas cares about how much you win, and the Texas basketball program has not done a lot of winning. We've had that one Elite 8 run, and that's really the only run past the first or second round we've seen in the last 10 to 15 years.
And I'd still say that the environment, even that year, because of the Chris Beard stuff going on, wasn't nearly as what it was whenever Chris Beard first got there in year 1 or year 2.
It was, the whole feeling around that team was weird until we got about halfway through conference play and they kept doing well.
Yeah.
And then I felt like the crowds got good again.
Because I think everybody was kind of, including you and myself, is like, how long is this going to last? Surely
and it was just a weird feeling because you had your guy at coach, and then he did something that got himself fired. I'm not one of those people that believes he should have been retained. And yeah, it was just, it was a weird feeling, and then it became a magical feeling, and it was a magical run, and it led to where Chris Del Conte truly had no choice but to hire him. I know some people think differently. I don't think he had a choice when you consider the situation and the optics around it, if he would have chose someone else. But yeah, exciting start to the Sean Miller. You feel like, he did well in the transfer portal. The way he retained players was really impressive. Meeting with them, obviously them buying into what he does, seeing what he did at Xavier, believing in that, seeing what he did at Arizona. You feel like there's a little bit of buy-in, and I'm excited for basketball season. I'm really excited.
It's the retention that you mentioned for me. Basketball worse than any other sport when it comes to the transfer portal. I mean, it's brutal. And the fact that Sean Miller was able to retain a guy like Jordan Poole, retain a guy like Tremont Mark, because I think that those two guys, offensive players, were like, yeah, get me out of Rodney Terry's system and get me a coach who's going to be able to develop me as an offensive player and show my strong suits. And I think we're going to see a completely different looking Tremont Mark, a completely different looking Jordan Pope. Kendall Weaver was never really the offensive guy, but again,
he might become one.
How Sean Miller is going to be able to utilize him, I'm more excited about than how Rodney Terry.
And Weaver was the first name that came out of. I mean, Sean Miller was borderline recruiting him to stay when he was at Xavier, going into that game.
If anybody remembers the first 4 March Madness games, the press conference leading into Texas, the very first name that pops out of Sean Miller's name is, the Kendall Weaver is a player that I really like. You can tell he was already kind of,
If I was a coach, I would
sweetening
want
the
him
deal.
on my
Yeah.
team.
If I was the head coach of Texas, I would love Kendall Weaver on my team. That's essentially what his press conference sounded like while he was at Xavier preparing for Texas in the first 4 games. But yeah, no, you're exactly right, Jake. I think that's a huge part of it. And now we're starting to see on the recruiting front what he's going to be capable of doing and pulling off. And that only gets me more excited for after this year, not even this year's team, which I'm extremely excited about.
Yeah, I think this year's team is going to be underranked going into the year.
And they should be.
Now, what's fun is, you know who game 1 is, right?
I haven't looked at the schedule.
Duke.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
That is game 1 is against Duke Blue Devils. I am not going to judge.
Is it is it home or away? Is it neutral?
I'm going to assume it's a neutral site. I do not know off the top of my head. It is the lamest thing. Both college football and college basketball should always be home and home unless it is a special rivalry game like Texas OU.
And I understand like the preseason tournaments that basketball does. I get that. But God, Texas Duke, that needs to be a home and home or something like that. These big schools, we need environments at these home crowds.
It's in Charlotte, North Carolina. It is the Dick Vitale Invitational, so it is a tournament. So
and it is going to be, that's a home game for Duke, by the way.
Any neutral site game is going to be a
it's not really
game.
neutral. It's in North Carolina. I mean, it's not that far away from where Duke is. So, but anyway, cool. Jake, anything else on Bo Odgen that we want to talk about, or even Sean Miller and the basketball team as a whole?
Just they've started practice. I've heard Chindell Weaver's worked really hard on his 3-point shot. If he gets going with that, this team has a lot more potential than I think a lot of people realize. And I'm really hoping they show that. That doesn't mean if they lose to Duke that I'm wrong, by the way.
Fire Sean Miller. Get him out of here.
We'll see it. If they come out, they don't look good game 1. We'll see it. This fan
the wrong hire.
Wrong hire. Should have gone and got Coach K.
Yeah.
Just throw out some unreasonable name they were never going to get.
You should have got Nick Saban.
I could see someone saying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, very excited for the Sean Miller era. Much more excited to do basketball on this podcast this year. And hopefully they do well, because basketball season was pretty dead for this podcast last year. I think we'll see a little bit more interest this year.
I think so. I put up, I think the last time we had the Sean Miller thumbnail talking about a press conference that he did, we were in the couple hundreds in terms of viewership. So I think there is some excitement around the fan base. Let's go ahead
we
and
were in the couple tens when it came to Rodney Terry.
I was like, no, we weren't. That video, I swear, got more. But yeah, with Rodney Terry, absolutely. Yeah, we were struggling to get out of single digits for a period of time there. So, all right, let's hear from Underdog, and then we'll give some entries and some picks that Jake and I like, and then we'll flip it over to the football side of things, and Steve Sarkisian addressed the media before the first opening conference game against Florida, and we'll hear from him as well. Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code HORNS to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code HORNS. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. All right, Jake, my entry for this week. I actually really like this Florida State-Miami game. I just think it's going to be a fun game in general. Now, am I confident in my picks? Absolutely not. But I do think this is going to be a fun game to be keeping an eye on. And it's always a little bit more added when you get to have a little skin in the game. So I've got Florida State bouncing back and just outright win. And I think Castellanos is going to have a bounce back game, a little bit better of a performance than he had against Virginia. He had some big plays against Virginia, but his completion percentage was like high 50s. So I think that he bounces back, but I think higher than 176. He's going to have to do that if Florida State's going to win this game. If he goes lower than 176, Miami wins this one. And Carson Beck, Big Game Beck is what I call him because he always kind of whittles under the pressure. And I think he goes lower than 237.5 passing yards for the Miami Hurricanes. I know Miami is probably has looked as though they have been the best team in the country thus far, but I think the ACC is just going to be a roller coaster ride.
I might fade you on that one, honestly. I think Miami wins that. Getting ahead of myself, though. We're not
Perfectly
to the prediction show yet.
Keep doubting me.
I went with a longer NFL one. Had a big hit over the weekend, by the way. I sent it to you. I think I'd bet $5, and on my entry, I won 63 back. This week, going lower on Carson Wentz for 1.5 passing touchdowns against what is the best defense in the NFL right now in the Cleveland Browns. Jackson Dart going higher than half a touchdown against New Orleans.
Did he get I know he got a rushing touchdown. Did he get a passing touchdown?
I do not know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know he got a rushing touchdown.
He looked pretty good in his debut.
Oh, he did. It was a shuffle pass to
yes,
the tight end.
I remember seeing that now. But I definitely like him to go higher than just half a touchdown against a bad New Orleans team. Cam Ward to go higher than half a touchdown. So, but kind of throwing some rookies in here. And that's at Arizona, and then Kyler Murray. Didn't want to put this one in there, but 1.5 passing touchdowns against Tennessee, who's been. The only thing that's fun about Tennessee to watch is Cam Ward, and it is kind of just him, and then 10 Jags out there on offense with him.
If we're keeping it a buck, we ass.
Yeah, exactly. So their defense hasn't looked good. So
line of the season, by the way, best quote all season long from Cam Ward. Love it.
He has the right mentality to be great. Yeah, they got to get a roster around him though.
No, I love it, Jake. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up, and then when we come back, it'll be the Sark Presser. We'll talk a little bit about it. Must be 18 and up, 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. All right, Jake, Steve Sarkisian, he addressed the media prior to the Florida game this week, and one thing that he said was, I'm really glad our practice or our injury reports are going to be coming out weekly on Wednesday so you guys can stop asking about who's injured and who's not injured. That was one of the first things he opened up with. So that's a SEC rule. That's not you can't do that during non-conference. But no, he addressed the media and talked about the upcoming game at the Swamp and really kind of started it out by talking about how they utilized the bye week the right way. He said practice was full of energy. He said he could hear the communication. That's not just between the players out there, but coaches and players, just everybody communicating, everybody getting on the same page, everybody kind of feeling the right vibes at practice this week. And then he said, guys just got to sit down and watch a lot of football. And I thought that was a fun thing, some team camaraderie. And there was also just great games on, but I mean, you had Alabama, Georgia, someone who's in your conference playing. You had Texas A&M, Auburn, a lot of conference games being played where you can kind of, get a feel for some opponents coming up this season, and kind of start putting some eyes on them.
Yeah, and Sarkisian also kind of talked about how there's been such a magnifying glass on Arch and the offensive struggles, and then you look around the nation, and honestly, there's not very many good looking offenses, definitely not many great looking offenses this year. And a lot of the ones that have been expected have not been good. Obviously Clemson is at the top of that list. People will say Drew Aller in the same breath. I never had that expectation. He looks like Drew Aller. Looks like the same exact guy that's been
Drew Aller and Penn State look like the exact same team they've been for the last 10 years.
Yeah, they look like a team that is held back by poor quarterback play and chose the wrong quarterback and let the really good quarterback transfer to Missouri, who's looked like one of the best offenses in the country.
Yeah.
I will bring Drew Aller hate up on this show every single time, and I'll bring up Bo Nix hate on the All In Cowboys show every time. Link in the description. Go like and subscribe there as well, and listen to my Bo Nix truther takes.
Yeah.
So quarterback play, Nussmeier.
Where
Got
were
caught up
we?
in my Drew Aller.
Yeah.
Nussmeier, another big name that, it was talked about as possibly a number 1 pick. Definitely does not look the part, though. Part of that is their running game has been really bad.
Right.
College football's been a defensive game this year.
Yeah.
And especially in the SEC has been that. I mean, Auburn has one of the worst offenses I've ever watched. Probably the worst quarterback play I've ever seen. But their defense is pretty decent. I mean, that A&M Auburn game was painful to the eyes. That's time I'm never going to get back in my life.
Honestly, I don't think I'm going to watch Auburn play again this season.
No, and for some reason, people are counting those as like good wins when beating Auburn.
No, I don't think I can force myself, especially Oklahoma A&M. I watched both of those games, and I'm just like, no, I can't put myself through watching Auburn play again. So
yeah, no, I can't watch as an offensive lineman. I cannot watch Jackson Arnold hold on to the ball for 12 seconds
and I also
get sacked, and then the offensive line get blamed for the sack. I can't do it.
And Sark brought that up. Sark said one of the things that he said, one of the questions in this presser was, aside from Arch, who are we looking at on the offense to really step up and kind of help get this offense going into conference play against a good Florida defense? He said, all 10 other guys on the field. He goes, it's funny to me that you guys focus in on one guy, and if there's a sack on the play, it could be a wide receiver's fault, but nobody talks about the wide receiver. The only people who get blamed are either the offensive lineman who let him go through or the quarterback who got sacked, but it's never the wide receiver's fault who ran the wrong route and kind of threw the whole play off. He goes, on the defensive side of the ball, if your corner slips and falls and he leaves his wide receiver, his man wide open, your pass rush can come in and get a sack and stop that pass from happening. A wide receiver on offense, it's all connected like a chain. If one guy misses an assignment on the offense, that whole play could blow up. And it doesn't even matter if that guy was involved in that play or not. It's just the way the offense works compared to defense, where, a linebacker misses an assignment or shoots the wrong gap. You can get a defensive lineman make up for it, or a safety make up for it, or somebody else make up for it, for the defense side of the ball. Not throwing shade at the defense by any means, but just saying, it's crucial that all 11 of the Texas offensive players on the offensive side of the ball mesh well, and they are complementing one another and making sure that those mistakes don't happen so the offense can function as efficiently as it's supposed to.
Yeah, the position groups have to function well within themselves and then function together as a whole. The offensive line, that is a completely different level of communication that's required. And when you're replacing a bunch of guys, it's tough early on, and you get better week by week, or at least you hope you do. And that's what we hope to continue to see from the Texas offensive line. The wide receiver room, we've seen a couple times where they're running the wrong routes, and it's obvious because they're in the same spot. And that does not happen under a Steve Sarkisian offense. We've seen that happen more than just the one time everyone thinks about against, I think it was like UTEP, was that when that had happened. And so, yeah, all the position groups have to work together to make the quarterback's life easier. Arch has the potential to be a guy that could carry an offense pretty much single-handedly. He's not there yet. And I don't think anyone that was realistic about expectations for Arch thought he would be there immediately to start this year. I know people go, well, this is his third year in the program. It's different being in the program versus being the starter. It just is. No amount of practice, no amount of watching tape and developing from your coaches.
Guess who you're watching?
Prepare you for game speed.
You're watching Quinn Ewers play. You're not watching yourself play. You're watching Quinn Ewers and
who's a completely also just talking about that. Watching Quinn Ewers play, Texas is going to run and is running a very different style of offense than they ran with Quinn Ewers, because Arch Manning is a much different style of quarterback than Quinn. The best, looks Arch got was against bad competition last year. And with really good players around him that were experienced and were all running at a very high level.
Yep.
He came into this year, had to play better competition right off the bat, and also has a lot of inexperience around him that aren't functioning at the level that Matthew Golden, even Gunnar Helm. Jack Injuries has been hurt. So there's been, the tight end room's kind of been a revolving door. The offensive line replacing 4 out of your 5 starters, and your returner has had struggles this year. There's been a lot not going right. That's not just on Arch. And Arch has gotten plenty of blame from us, from everyone else.
Sure.
But he's also looked really good at times and shown what he's capable of being.
And some of that criticism is warranted and completely fair. And I think that should...
All the UTEP film is warranted in parts of the Ohio State game. But Ohio State probably is the best defense in the country. If it's not, I would say they do as of right now, just because they've played a little bit more than what Texas has. But Texas and Ohio State and maybe Oklahoma are probably like the top 3 defenses in the country, in my opinion.
He did give an update on Trey Wisner, progressing really well is what he said. Provides a sense of identity to the offense with his leadership, and I think that does show, and I think that goes really undervalued when you have the type of runner and the type of player Trey Wisner is. That does have a sense of identity and leadership to it. And we should see him against Florida. Should get some carries, should get some snaps. He didn't elaborate on snap count or percentage or anything like that of how many plays he plans on running Wisner. But I assume if Wisner back and Baxter are back, you're going to be splitting carries with them. And then who knows? You might see a James Simon pop up from time to time. You might get a Jarrett Gibson. Playing a little bit of some snaps there. So I'll be curious to see how the running back rotation looks, especially with guys getting back from injury. But it feels like Texas is going to be full go for this Florida game, about as healthy as they've been all season.
Yeah, and I think we're all excited for this weekend. It feels like it's been such a long time since the Ohio State game. Yeah. And Texas has been so banged up, and now they got guys coming back. And this is where we get to start to figure out what the rest of the season is going to look like. This is when we start to get a good idea. And I think Sarkisian knows it. I think the staff knows it. They're excited to get guys like Wisner back. And it's time to see if this offense can operate, because the next 2 defenses are going to be arguably the 2 best defenses they play the rest of the season. And if they play well in those games, we're going to be saying we're going to be back on that national championship train. If Texas can take care of business these next couple of weeks, regardless of who's playing quarterback for the other teams, which, by the way, Lagway's playing. Yeah. So hopefully that narrative can stop. And it sounds like Mateer's healing well. So hopefully he's playing against Texas. I don't want any excuses out there from the Crimson.
And there will be some regardless, win or lose.
Well, he's coming off an injury. Like Texas hasn't played them with the quarterback coming off an injury like every single year.
Yeah. Also, Sark did mention that when Texas is able to start fast, stack possessions, he noted that Texas is 20-1 in their last 21 games when Texas scores first, because their defense typically gets that next stop. And if you can stack possessions and stack scores, by the time your defense gets back out onto the field, you're already up by 2 possessions. And so
what would that loss be? Oklahoma, probably?
Maybe.
I want to say Oklahoma.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to go back the last 20 games that Texas scored first and to see what the loss is on that one.
I would imagine it's Oklahoma. They haven't lost many other football games.
I was going to say, well, and they've probably scored first in a lot of those games. So I would imagine.
Yeah, and I know they didn't in Georgia. They didn't against Ohio State.
Yeah, both times they played Ohio State.
Yeah, so I think it would be Oklahoma. There's not many losses to choose from, which is a good thing.
Yeah. Did they score first in the SEC championship game against Georgia?
I want to say no.
I feel like Texas got off to a really good start in that game. I know they didn't get the points they needed to. Anyway, but yeah, he did mention that, and I think that is crucial. And then based on that, he talked about the next 4 road games. Texas has 4 road games coming up, but Oklahoma obviously being a neutral-sided game, but still not at home. And he says, look, we've used the same routine every single time on the road. And we've seen success on the road. They have been a very good road team. They've been a really good team over the last 2 to 3 years. But he said that they've seen a lot of success on the road, and so there shouldn't be any concern from the team, from guys. He said the team should feel very confident in their formula when they go on the road. So they obviously stick to a pretty strict regimen in terms of their practice schedule, in terms of their travel schedule, and things like that, where it comes second nature to these guys, and really shouldn't throw a wrench into anything whenever it comes to these next 4 games where they will not be playing in Austin.
Yeah, it was the SEC championship game, by the way. I went back and checked. They were up 6-0 in the second quarter off of 2 field goals in that game. They so many field goals they kicked in that game, including ones they missed that would have won the game.
Yeah.
That brought up a little PTSD.
Fans want Sark to kick more field goals whenever he can.
Yeah, well, now looks like you have a kicker that can make it, but I mean, we all thought Bert Auburn could make them, and then he just became terrible last year. Looking at that box score brought PTSD. I didn't need to look at that. I hate fact checking when it comes to fact checking bad stats.
Yeah, I apologize for making you do that, but I was like, I remember I was like, the second Georgia game, I feel like Texas got off to a good start.
Yeah, they were moving the ball. I mean, they outgained Georgia by a lot in that game. And it just didn't matter because they couldn't score the touchdowns.
Georgia also. And for whatever reason, there are Boogie Monster.
Granted, there's only 2 game sample size to say they're a Boogie Monster, but that's what it's going to feel like until Texas can beat them, because Texas beat everyone else.
Right, for those 2 games. But yeah, Jake, he just said, Arch needs to be Arch, not something else. He needs to just go through his progressions. He said nobody prepares like Arch. He's the one guy on the team that prepares the most, and he does the most film study. He's there watching film more than any other player. It's just about getting through progressions and secondary reads and not feeling rushed, trusting what he studies, trusting what he's prepped for in the game, and whenever it happens live, to just go with what he's learned and not try to feel overly rushed or overly pressured when that pressure or that rush isn't even there. And I think that's kind of been something Sark's been working on with Arch, because I feel like in practice, Arch is probably just a dominant practice player because he knows that pressure isn't there and he's just playing loose. And so he needs to have that same kind of mentality whenever he's playing in the games. And Sark has had all the confidence in the world with him of moving forward with him and working with them. And, he's called him out saying he's pressing, he's trying too hard, trying to do too much, instead of just letting the game kind of flow through him like we saw for the majority of that Sam Houston State game.
Yeah, and it's great that they got that momentum going into the bye week. Granted, against a bad opponent, but there's a reason Sark's confident in Arch still, and I think that's because what they see in practice started to translate in that Sam Houston game, and quite frankly, what we saw last year. And so he's just got to go out there and not try to be Superman every play. I think Sark,
and he doesn't need to try to be his uncles. He just needs to be.
No, he just needs to be Arch Manning. And Sarkisian putting it that simple. Sometimes it really is that simple.
Yeah.
Just like Wingo needs to go out there and just be Wingo. He just needs to be Ryan Wingo. He doesn't need to try to be Des Bryant or whoever you want to compare his style of receiving to. He just needs to go out there and some of the guys on defense, Colin Simmons, he was pressing early. He felt like a lot of this team. I think that number 1 ranking to start the year got to him a little bit, and then losing that first game.
Every podcast, every magazine, every media outlet, every show saying, "Oh, well, Colin Simmons is the best pass rusher in the country, and Ryan Wingo should have a big year, should be pushing 2,000 yards receiving this year, and Arch Manning is going to be the Heisman and win a national championship and bring Texas back to the glory days." And like just hearing all of that, those 3 guys pressing a little bit to start the year off, yeah, they probably did have some expectations that they were trying to live up to themselves.
Yeah, I think Sark kind of basically shouted us out when he's like, "There's 6,000 podcasts," and
I think we're one of the 6,000.
Yeah, we're a Texas podcast. We got to include that. So thank you, Sarkeesian, for the shout out.
Appreciate you.
Open invitation anytime you want to come on.
Any day. It could be every day. Honestly, I don't think we could have enough of Steve Sarkeesian on this show. So
no, I would skip work to interview
you
Steve
kidding me?
Sarkeesian.
Are you kidding? I'd get fired to interview Sarkeesian for like 10 minutes. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So, but yeah, one last thing, Jake, I want to mention. I just love this quote. He actually mentioned that Texas was very high on recruiting DJ Lagway and put in a lot of resources, a lot of time into recruiting DJ Lagway. He quoted this, and this is the exact quote. "I know the competitor and the talent of DJ Lagway. It's still in there, and we better prepare for the best version of him." And I think that's the best way to put it. And I know it's a little bit of coach speak in terms of that, but he actually really knows DJ Lagway. I mean, this coaching staff put in a lot of time in going to games and watching him play live, and then obviously saw him last year as a true freshman. And so we all know what DJ Lagway is capable of doing. It's a matter of them doing it, and you don't want it to be this week whenever they figure it out.
Yeah, and they're getting freshman wide receiver Dallas Wilson back. And he was kind of the star of their spring game. He had 10 catches, 195 yards, and 2 touchdowns in their spring game. He's a true freshman. This will be his first college action, but he lit up their spring game, and he's going to get a lot of run this weekend. And that's someone that Sarkeesian mentioned in his press conference by name. And so the defense will be aware of him. But still, I hope the defense doesn't come into this game overconfident just because Florida has not looked good on offense.
Or
with a quarterback that has the skill and the talent that DJ Lagway has, it can open up any given week. All it takes is for everything to be firing on 1 week and you to have an off game, and all of a sudden you're not playing so well defensively, and you're playing at the Swamp, and the crowd is going against you. There's rain in the forecast. This whole team needs to come prepared. I think people are just shooing in the defenses. They're going to play well. I think they will too, but I certainly hope they don't come out overconfident just because Florida hasn't looked good.
I kind of love that this is the Florida game to start off conference play before Oklahoma, to be honest with you. I would hate it to be Kentucky or hate it to be Arkansas and there be kind of like a look-ahead game situation going into Oklahoma. I think Florida has enough of a reputation and a big enough brand, a big enough name to where you have to you just kind of automatically prepare for Florida. Like you're ready to go in there on the road in the Swamp, a place you haven't played before, and go in there, with the intention of being fully focused on the task ahead of you, and not so much in the look ahead spot of the Red River game.
Yeah, I really wish Florida could have been last week and then a bye this week.
Sure. Well, I
would agree. Yeah. I would agree with your statement more if it wasn't for the fact that Oklahoma just had a bye. Then they have Kent State, which is another bye, and then they have Texas, and they're just been sitting there game planning for almost a month for Texas on top of the game planning they did all off season. That's my biggest concern for the Red River game is just when one team gets to prepare that much while the other team has a more legitimate game in there, it typically favors the team that gets all the preparation time, especially at the start of a game.
Well, we saw it last year with Texas. Texas was in that spot last year. So
yeah, and they started a little slow, but that was more so because of Quinn still playing hurt. Yeah. But hopefully Texas was able to get in a little preparation this week during the bye week for Oklahoma. I'm sure they did, but yeah, it is hard to overlook Florida. Whenever you hear Florida, they have 4 and 5 star guys out there that are really talented. They have the talent, and yeah, they're 1 and 3, but 2 of those teams are to, good football teams, if not great, with Miami. And then you have, a loss on the road to LSU where your quarterback kind of threw away the game. And the USF loss, yeah, that's a bad loss, but it's not like USF is terrible.
So I'd say, is it a bad loss? I mean,
it is at home to USF, but they're not a bad team. So that it's not impossible for Florida to win this football game by any means, especially with the defense they have. So I'm sure the coaching staff has gotten this team ready. I'm just ready for Saturday to be here so we can see this game and start to get. There's so much unknown with Texas for us going into week 6 or whatever it is. I feel like we're finally going to start to learn a lot more about this team this weekend.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. That's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We will have our breakdown of the Florida game next episode tomorrow. And then we will have our immediate reaction following the Texas-Florida game right here on this channel. So stay tuned. Like, share, subscribe. Get your alerts and join us tomorrow and join us on Saturday. Whenever we give you our reaction to the Texas-Florida game. Again, that's Jake Jimerson. I'm Tanner Carlson. As always, ladies.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.